It's a week unlike any other in all of football. It's Dallas week.
End zone for Smith.
The Cowboys will be without quarterback Dak Prescott, but there's now concerns over Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts.
I would love it if the team and our coach could be clear with us about the health of our franchise quarterback.
Plus, the Phillies shake up the front office, naming Preston Mattingly the team's new general manager. Big weekend in Philly sports can only mean one thing.
It's time to get fantastic!
From Fox 29 News, this is the Phantastic Sports Show.
Hello. Happy Friday. Finally Friday.
It is.
Hey, Scott. How are you?
Football Friday. I'm good. How are you?
So obviously Breland Moore, but Scott Grayson filling in for Jason Martinez. He's on vacation. He's in sunny Los Angeles right now.
It's somebody, somebody had to go, I guess.
Yeah.
It had to be him.
I guess so. So Scott is filling in, and we are going to have some fun here because here is what is on deck this evening. It's really a week that needs no introduction.
Right.
You don't need any sort of lead up or...
If you have any pulse around here.
Yeah, it's Dallas week, guys. So we are, of course, talking Eagles-Cowboys, which kicks off on Sunday. We're also going to take a look around the league. And the Phillies making some front office moves here.
Interesting.
Yeah, a little bit. We'll get into that and what I think that means. And,
sure.
We can kind of get into the nitty-gritty of some of these moves and whether we like them or not or what have you.
I like it.
Scott, you want to tell the good people at home how they can weigh in?
It's right there. It's right there on your screen. 215-915-PHAN. Be sure to send us your selfie-style videos, or you can upload them if the web is your preferred version. Fox29.com/upload.
We'll be back in 30 seconds. Hello. Welcome back to Philly Sports Network. Kyle Fisher is in the building today. You've seen him a couple times on the show. He is a Phillies writer, but we also can talk a little Eagles with him. And I want to get into Dallas week. It's so exciting, and I'm so pumped. And the Cowboys are really terrible right now just to get things teed up. But Scott, a little bomb dropped today about the health of Jalen Hurts. Are you concerned?
It's self-inflicted wound, right, by the head coach. Am I concerned? Not really, because watching Jalen last week in the game, I thought he was moving fine. And so wherever he got nicked up, I don't know. I'm not really that worried about it. I think but after hearing all that today, Breland, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, okay, well, early in the game, the first time the Eagles get the ball, that's what I'm watching. I'm watching Jalen's mobility.
Absolutely. So, guys, before we get into what Nick Sirianni actually said, let's go to the fan cam first.
As long as Jalen Hurts is healthy and plays, I would love it if the team and our coach could be clear with us about the health of our franchise quarterback.
I know there's concerns because Sirianni's goof today where he's talking about Jalen having an ankle injury, but it's not on the report. Doesn't matter. Birds are winning this one 31-7.
Alrighty, so Kyle. Hey, Kyle.
Hey.
How are you?
Fantastic.
How's your
with a PH?
With a PH?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just pulled up, as Scott and I were talking, you might have seen me on my phone for like a hot second. I was pulling up the injury report from this week, and Jalen has been designated as rest the entire time. And then Nick does a little goof. How concerned are you, before we hear from Nick and let you in on the goof, how concerned are you, Kyle?
I'm not super concerned. These you usually don't see the coach make mistakes like this, but I think that managing Jalen is important. Not that he's had a history of bang-ups, but if you want to be a team that can make a long run, you want to make sure that your guys are healthy. So I'm not too worried.
Yeah, let's take a look at that interaction because it is a little bizarre.
He's dealing with it was on the injury report, dealing with the ankle, and just making sure we're precautious with everything.
I'm sorry, Jalen Hurts. It was an ankle hurt?
What's that?
It was the rest.
That was the rest, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
I thought you were talking about something else.
I thought you were talking about somebody else.
So here's my takeaway from that is to kind of explain why maybe the Eagles didn't want that to get out. Because now every player on the Cowboys
Competitive
knows.
advantage?
Well, a little bit of that, but now everybody on the Cowboys knows, if he's got an ankle issue, where do you think you're going to try to tackle this guy?
Absolutely.
Or you want to get in there. And tweak that thing, grab onto it if you can. And so that's why the Eagles were trying to keep that low. But that is a goof of all goofs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think this is common, right? Do you know how many guys are banged up and they don't make the injury report because they're practicing or what have you, or are listed as a rest, but something's bothering them? This is common. This is common across sports, actually. We see it all the time, all over, of guys just kind of not feeling 100%, especially, what is this, week 10? Yeah, it's week 10.
Right.
Things are going to be a little hurty at this point. But Nick, come on. Come on.
The biggest concern is that they're just going to have to deal with the league now. The league obviously is going to be, not only for this week, going to be paying close attention and potentially fining them for misrepresenting the injury report, but that's also something I would imagine the league will look at them more closely moving forward as well.
Sure, keep an eye on it. You're right. I mean, it's going to put them under the magnifying glass, and I would expect a fine. I would be frankly surprised if they didn't get one as this goes forward.
Yeah, well, we'll see. In the meantime, let's go back to the fan cam.
I'm not worried really about this week. I just need a defense to show up like they have been for the last 4 weeks since the bye week. One of the best defenses in the league. What a turnaround. Listen, Cooper Rush, get ready to learn turf, baby. It is going to be a long day for you, pal.
By the way, Fink, incredible Philadelphia Water Dogs hat representing our lacrosse team there.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the logo there. But yeah, so Kyle, you obviously travel all around because I buried that lead. He is not only just a Phillies writer, he also is, works during the football season with CBS. So sorry to bury that lead. But Kyle, you travel all around and you've seen almost every team in this league at this point, right? And the Cowboys are just not, they're not good at football.
Yeah, they're not playing the way that you would expect the roster to coming into the season.
Yeah.
Everybody thought this was going to be a two-dog race in the NFC East, and it is, but one of those teams is not who you expected.
Right.
I think that things are amuck right now in Dallas. It feels messy. There's questions about the coach. There's questions about the defense, which was supposed to be a strong point. Now the quarterback goes down. But one thing I'll say is times like these are when guys get galvanized, right? Teams get galvanized around a backup quarterback. We've seen it here. I know we have a big matchup on Thursday. The Eagles cannot look past Dallas.
There's no doubt. But it's hard not to when you look at this team. You're right about the coaching issues. You have a quarterback who on the sidelines, if this happened here where you have a quarterback get caught saying we suck, would go astronomical around here. And yeah, it's just crazy. And now, Kyle, they do get, it sounds like Micah Parsons is going to play this week. I know he's questionable, but CeeDee Lamb comes back. Obviously, it's Eagles-Cowboys. They haven't won there since 2017. People look at this spread, and the Eagles are favored by 7.5 to 8 points. Would you caution those people to say, hey, don't expect this to just be easy and a cakewalk?
100%. Just like you said, especially if Parsons comes back. They're dealing with some injuries on the left side of the line right now. If they need to change people and put people out of position, there's talks about potentially Steen playing left tackle. You run the risk that those guys are going to come in, and Diggs, who's maybe underperformed to this point this year, he's been all over the news for the issue with the reporter a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's going to come in there with something to prove, and I think these guys are really going to potentially rally. So I think you need to bury them early and not let them stick around.
Absolutely. So that leads us to our go vote this evening. What do you think is going to happen here for the season? Tracking both games. 73% of you guys, season sweep.
Wow.
Okay. You really seriously, the unthinkable, 12% of you guys really seriously think that this Eagles team is going to lose both games to Dallas. For real. Dallas, who has not won at home all season. Y'all are hitting too hard already.
People
guys,
got in early.
We are going to take a short timeout on that note. Maybe sober up a little bit. 215-915-PHN or fox29.com/upload. When we come back, we're going to broaden the conversation and look around the league. Welcome back into the Phantastic Sports Show. Now, Kyle, as we mentioned before, you're with CBS during the football season, and you actually have the Eagles game this week, right? How exciting is that?
Yeah, it's rare. We're mostly AFC game of the week most times, but Dallas, Philly was available, and the network couldn't say no.
Yeah.
Maybe not the matchup we were hoping for. Now with the injuries, but.
Absolutely. So we do want, because, you do travel around a lot, we want to pick your brain a little bit on around the league and a couple of matchups that have caught our eye and maybe have caught your eye. The first one we're going to start with is the one right here on Fox 29 at 1 o'clock on Sunday. This is Niners and Bucks. And Kyle, what do you make of these two teams?
Well, Bucks on the defensive end, there's a lot of problems. They have looked they've looked like almost trailed off the last few weeks, similar to how the Eagles did in the second half last year. Obviously, it's not tale of two halves yet, but the offense, Baker's a gunner. He's going to throw the ball so they can stick with anybody on that end. On the flip side with the Niners, McCaffrey sounds like Shanahan said that he's good to go.
Yep.
Scott looked up in the break. So we making sure that he was good to go, but that when he's out there, even in limited reps against a struggling defense, he's going to eat all game. So I think it's going to be a shootout in that one. Niners, if they start to look like themselves again, are obviously a threat no matter what. So.
Of course, we'll be curious about that one. But I'm really interested, Kyle, in the Commanders and Steelers game, because the Commanders obviously are the team the Eagles are a half a game behind and playing on a short week Thursday night next week here at home. What do you feel? What's your feel for this game? Should the Commanders be worried?
I don't know if the Commanders should be worried, but it's not going to feel like a walk in the park for them either. The Steelers are still very effective on defense. The strength of their defense is that rush. They fill gaps very well, fill lanes very well. TJ Watt's still a monster. And then on the flip side, since Russell Wilson has taken over at quarterback, they've looked more like an average offense instead of a bad offense, which is a huge improvement. I know that sounds crazy, but they've used the RPO more often. They've used play action more often and been very effective in just 2 weeks. So Commanders are going to have a matchup which it may not have felt like that 2 weeks ago for them.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see this because, once again, it's almost like that Baltimore matchup of a couple weeks ago. It's a good litmus test for this team, and I would like to really see where the Commanders are as we enter the latter stretch of the season here. The final one, though, Texans and Lions. Should be good.
That one's going to be very interesting. I've had the Lions a few times. I'm going to have them on Thanksgiving as well.
They're great.
And then, of course, they have a major injury and they go out and shore it up at the deadline anyway. I mean, they are the class of the NFC at the moment. I think the Texans are more the talking point. How good they looked in the first couple weeks. You thought they were going to start gelling. Then Nico Collins goes out for a bit with Diggs down. Their offensive line has struggled immensely this season, which has forced Stroud into some tough positions, especially when they like to throw the ball down the field a lot, so holding onto the ball longer, but getting pressured very quickly.
Let me ask you a question about the Lions. Is this a team that, I mean, they're good. They're obviously good. They were in the NFC Championship game last year. Is this a team, though, that is just, is it possible to stay this hot all season?
Well, I mean, we've seen other teams be this hot, right? I just think that the culture that they've established, maybe they haven't won championships, but you've seen the building blocks the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I don't think they finished the year with 2 losses, but 4 losses, very, very realistic for this squad. They are probably the deepest team in the NFL this year.
It kind of honestly reminds me of watching the Chiefs build.
It feels similar.
Yeah, and the way that went with Patrick Mahomes. All right, 215-915-PHAN, fox29.com/. Welcome back. We are down the stretch, and we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about Kyle's other expertise area, which is, of course, the Phillies. And yes, it's not baseball anymore. It's not baseball time, but the Phils still making some moves here, and they're a little interesting. So the Phillies released a statement today saying, in part, that Vice President and General Manager Sam Feld is currently pursuing his MBA at the University of Pennsylvania, Wharton School of Business, and upon graduation, he's going to transition into President of Business Operations. Preston Mattingly, yes, the son of Don, he's promoted to Vice President and General Manager. Luke Merton promoted to Director of Player Development, and Edward Gonzalez, the Director of Hitting Development. That's also a promotion there. And so before we get into this, let's hear from Dave Dombrowski today on why some of these moves were made.
We'll all talk about player movements, So it'll really be a continued process of evolvement. And I think as more and more time goes on and Sam takes on more responsibilities, more of that will continue to fall on in Preston's back.
Alrighty, so Kyle, you actually said earlier that you wrote an article about this, and what did you take away from the Zoom calls, and why do you think some of these moves were made?
Well, it kind of feels like just building out the roster, right? They like a lot of the guys that they have in the front office. It's a young front office.
Yeah.
We saw a couple years ago, Sam Fold, the Red Sox tried to poach him before 2023 season, and he said no. So I think you're putting guys and kind of moving the chess pieces around into more advantageous positions. Sam actually was on the Zoom call, and he spoke about a conversation that he had in the spring as his role grew under Dave. Dave, and John had a conversation. He really started to like the business side, and they were interested in him going there. But then they realized, like, well, are people going to take you seriously? Can we put you in a position when you don't really have that as a background?
Right.
Let's go ahead and send you to UPenn, finest institution in Philadelphia outside of our Temple.
Outside of Temple University, that's correct.
But send him over there and get that background so that the move can feel a little more official.
So when you look at Preston Mattingly, you see a picture of him, and you see, boy, this guy's young.
Yep.
Really
it's
young.
the first thing that stood out to me. What can you tell us a little bit more about him? I know in something I read, it might have been from you even, about is that he does tend to focus on analytics.
Yeah, he's big on analytics. The whole team, the whole front office is trying to move themselves into heavier analytics. I think that you see that with some of the moves that they make with the pitching staff. Rob does a little less feel than maybe like the last World Series manager in Charlie Manuel. He went a lot off of feel. So they're trying to move into this modern age, and I think that when you have young guys who understand the game on that level and you want to put them in advantageous positions without losing them to the competition, and just hearing Dave talk about Preston, it was like talking about his own child or his own nephew. It was insane. He talked about him being such a spectacular person. So that made me feel very good about the move.
Absolutely. Let's go to the fan cam.
I like the move promoting Preston Mattingly to GM, moving Sam into a different position. You know, in an offseason with a lot of questions around a team, a lot of uncertainty about who's going to be where come the start of 2025, a new energy from a guy from a baseball family with a good pedigree could be a good thing that yields results for this organization.
Solid analysis there, Prem. But I also think, as I was looking at this, the first thought that came to mind is, Dombrowski is setting himself up to ride off into the sunset with the top down of his Corvette as he goes to Florida forever. This very much seems like a contingency plan for the inevitable retirement. Am I off base on that?
No, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, he's done this. This is his third team he's trying to win a World Series with. He's done quite a few quick rebuilds, expensive rebuilds, and he has ownership that's willing to do that. That puts a lot of stress on the mind, body, spirit. Obviously, he's a baseball lifer, but I think that I think you're right in your thought that he's setting himself up for retirement sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I think he's earned it at this point. My goodness,
oh sure, just got to get John Middleton his trophy back. He's just asking for that.
His bleeping trophy back, right? His bleeping trophy back.
It is Friday night. I could have gone there.
Kyle, we haven't had you on really since the everything, right?
Yeah. Right.
What was your takeaway on how this season ended, and is there hope that Dumbo could potentially get that trophy before he sails off to the sunset?
Yeah, I think there is hope. I think that based on the press conferences from both Middleton and Dombrowski, it seems like they are more willing to make changes or be aggressive in their coaching of some of the veterans. Thompson has always been considered a veteran guy, which is like, as long as we're all positive and everybody supports each other, that's okay. I think that you're going to see some guys challenged more this offseason.
Real quick, Bohm, Stott, anybody you expect could get moved that you think has a better chance of maybe not being here than being here?
I think out of the three guys you mentioned, I would say, you mentioned two guys. I think probably, sorry, you mentioned two. I had a third in my head.
Go ahead.
Brandon Marsh is probably the guy
yeah,
that I would think. It's going to be tough to move a contract of Castellanos. He's probably more valuable to you on the roster than he is what you would get in return for him. Marsh is still promising and young, and somebody out there will think, I can fix that guy. So he probably has the most value outside of Bohm, but I think you don't give up on a guy who's improving every single year.
So you say bring Bohm back?
100%, I think you bring him back.
Well, we'll see what they do. I mean, we heard that they're not going to blow up much. So
but you have to give good players to get good players.
That's right.
Dombrowski did say that.
So we'll see how it goes. Kyle, have the most fun
enjoy the game
on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a blast.
I'm bound for Dallas tomorrow.
Guys, you know the number. You know what to do there. So we'll be right back after this. Close it out. Welcome back into the Phantastic Sports Show. And as we look ahead to Sunday's game against Dallas, Scott, what's one thing that you want to see or do you think will happen in this game?
Well, I'll start with this. I think that this team could be primed for a big win in the Eagles. But to do it, they've got to get up on the Cowboys early because I think the crowd, that team is folding. They're really close to just imploding. So you have a chance. If you can go up on them early, you can get them to fold. And what would that do? With a short week coming up against the Commanders, it would allow the Eagles, if they could get a big lead, to maybe give Saquon Barkley a little bit of a rest. Give Jalen Hurts a little bit of a resting player instead of the ankle.
Yeah. All right. So as we go into the end zone, I, by the way, think we're going to get a Reed Blankenship and C.J. Gardner-Johnson interception.
I like it.
Season sweep is what you guys are expecting out there at home for the entire duration of the season. We'll see how things go this weekend. Of course, wake up with us on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for Fox 29 Game Day, and we'll see you then. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.